Hey, what's up, guys? This is Showtime with Showtime Shredded Fitness over here. Size, growth, get big. So, a topic I should have covered a long time ago, especially now that it seems like I don't want to jinx it, but it looks like we're slowly progressing out of the whole COVID thing and back to normal life and stuff, one stage at a time. But, you can revert right back. You never know. So, you always want to be prepared for the best and the worst. Tito Ortiz says expect the worst and prepare for the worst and the best things will happen. But you got to remember to do it with a positive attitude and not a gloom and doom one either. If you're like you were and you're depressed and like, oh, I knew this was going to happen, and then you speak things into existence, so it's a bad idea, right? If you just expect certain obstacles and adversities and things like that to be thrown at you, different story, right? So now we prep a different way, right? We prep to expect the worst things to be thrown at it and learn how to cope or deflect or go through or go over, around, or below, whatever we got to do, right, to get to the destination, get to that goal, right? There's more than one way to skin a cat, and, even with the COVID thing, people could look at it as, I looked at it both different ways, the wrong way for the first couple of days, and took a walk, did my meditation, and looked at it the right way. But it's easy to see the negatives, or the positives. But especially if you're a routine person, you're just waking up at this time, you're going to work and attending these classes, or doing this work job, or these workouts, or going to this gym, or whatever have you, right? And that gets cut off. Some people don't do very well with breaking a routine, right? Especially people who are successful because proper preparation prevents poor performance, and they have a routine and a ritual that makes them successful. It can make people flip out because they don't know how long they're going to be engaged in having to sell in, and it's scary. It was scary for me, not for myself, but for just worrying about things that were out of my control. What happens now if you don't have a good teacher or counselor or somebody you could talk to, or a police officer, social worker, to help you out of an abusive situation if you're a child, right? Or if you're most relationships, if somebody's abused physically, it's the man doing the abusing. Well, what about those poor women that are getting abused? Or what about the poor guy who's might be a little bit tough, he might not meant to be tough at all, but the old lady's like freaking, I got friends that are really nice to their husbands and boyfriends, but they could fucking kill them if they want to, right? They're versed in maybe they're a second degree black belt in karate, or they're legitimately, where it took them at least 5 to 7 years or 10 years to get their black belt only, and then had to build from there, right? A real black belt, not one that you can go online and get in a year or less. These gals are the real deal, right? And some of them are cage fighters, and they train with mostly men until they get in the cage with women, because sometimes there's no other females to train with and it's not a dojo. It's called something else. Training facility, we'll call it for now, until I hear the proper terminology for the. Sometimes I hear, I'm going to my gym now to go train MMA. So sometimes it's not called anything at all other than a training facility or a gym. It depends on who you talk to. I'm sure they've got a verbiage for their special style, like instead of a dojo, they call it something else. So you get all these adversities as it is. And but a lot of times, you make that adjustment, mental adjustment, right? And find a different routine. It's going to be one altogether different. And most people have prevailed through this. But where I really had my doubts in the beginning, right? But yeah, I was really worried about a lot of people, because look at Gabriel Hernandez, who freaking, had all the things in place. He'd done everything right. He'd reported to the police. He'd reported to a couple people he trusted and confided in. They had social workers come over and investigate. And the mom was such a master manipulator that she was able to convince that he was making this stuff up, blah, blah, blah. And where the police were really out of pocket is when they took this poor, scared little boy who they were locking in a cabinet, and they told him they were going to freaking, lock him up and all this other stuff and really make his life a mess if he were to continue to lie. And this poor kid has been victimized forever. There was no justice in that. I mean, it's great. One of the guys is going to be put to death, and the other guy got scared, so she cooperated, admitted everything, pleaded guilty. It was even better because she's been getting the shit beat out of her and things like that, and her life's been a living hell since she's been in there. So, they're paying for their brutality, but the problem is there's no justice because there is no longer a Gabriel Hernandez, right? And what really upsets me is here they send the Mendez brothers who were horrifically abused, from what it sounded like, according to Anthony Robbins, and then they freaking defend themselves and then they were told that they did the wrong thing. Well, how did that work out for Gabriel Hernandez? So, I don't buy into that thing. I think if you can really approve, and that's the problem though, because you really need the proof, right? To actually do anything. But if there's really significant amount of complaints and this and that, they should yank people out. But sometimes they don't do that, and it's just not right. So I think that if it's proven afterwards that they really were really badly abused, I think that whole bullshit about, there's no justification for shooting the parents in the face. If they were beating the crap out of them or sexually molesting them or anything like that, and it's pretty compelling and convincing that was true, because sometimes we're just false accusations, allegations, right? And then that's why the proof is so important. But if you can make that to where it's either true or it's really, really, really possible, I'm on that jury. I'm saying not guilty, self-defense. Because if you're going to report stuff to the police, the social workers, and everything else, like Gabriel Hernandez did, and have no results, you can't hold these kids accountable. Yeah, they should get a retrial, those Mendez brothers, because it sounded like the jury really believed that they were badly abused, and they said, well, there's no justification for what they did. The psychological, the physical, the pain, but more the emotional and psychological pain where you're scared to death because you're getting the shit beat out of you all the time. Or I don't know if it was physical abuse or sexual abuse or both, but they were, the jury believed that they were severely abused, so I think they should get off. Sometimes if you don't know who to go to or who to trust, sometimes the schools are really good about educating people about who to report to and this and that. But sometimes you're not educated. You don't know what to do, when you're a kid. So, obviously you got to be careful with that, because you don't want kids going, I had one kid, for example, killed his parents because they wouldn't let him go to a pie. It's like, no, that's not justified. That's probably somebody who would do those types of things various times throughout their lives if they were able to get away with stuff like that. So no, that's not justified, right? But if you're abused, not overly disciplined, because there's a line there, and